Yes, I am Brandon Costa from Sports Video Group. I want to welcome up the rest of our speakers here as well. We always appreciate Cisco having us be a part of this. Thanks for putting on this spectacular event, as always. Everyone's too nice to each other over here. All right. Again, we're going to talk about quite a few things that you heard Yoav mention, everything from IP, cloud-based workflows. I'm sure many other buzzwords will come up throughout the course of the conversation.
So it's been really, really great to work with Cisco. And the main focus with Cisco is around creative collaboration. So as you can imagine, we are producing movies all over the world. And communication can be complex sometimes, especially around creative review. So one of the big things we're focusing on is how do we get folks, how do we erase the miles? How do we get everyone feeling like they're standing in a room together so that they can make decisions sort of on the spot? And anything we can do to give our creatives more iteration, the opportunity to refine, the better off we're going to be. So yeah, I think really this idea about how, even if you're not in the same physical space, how can you go beyond just say a voice call or even a video call and start to work together in real time?
Before we get to Raj, I want to get your guys' thoughts on that too. The idea of making this, anytime you implement a new technology at a company, heck, if you want to get your small office on Google Docs, you have to have 20 meetings on it because you got to get buy-in from everybody. How do you go about making these radical changes while not upsetting the day-to-day too much and keeping people relatively happy and comfortable with what they're paid to do? What's it like from the Cisco perspective right now, trying to be that flexible, and what are you maybe learning along the way from gentlemen like these?
It's interesting. They are different, very different areas all within this industry. There's a common theme though here, which is remote production. Mm-hmm. Right? Ben's talking about how they're producing remotely, trying to tap into what's happening on set. Remote sports, running a studio completely remotely. We've learned a ton over the last 3 years since we've been at this. I mean, I've described over the last 6 months, and I've had to explain internally just how much we've learned from Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Right, working with Ben and his team and just understanding what happens in a creative environment. I remember 2 years ago you were kicking our ass because yes, we did manage to launch that truck, but it wasn't without a whole lot of pain in terms of, hey Cisco, you need to understand what happens in a broadcast environment when you can't afford to drop a frame. And the work that we do with SWR is really on the edge right now. Mm-hmm. It is a constant learning experience for Cisco. We didn't walk into this with an approach of, hey, we know this and we've done this before. It was, we want to help, help educate us as well.
Cool.
Hi, Coach Cinema with Eizo Shimbun. So, can any of you give us good example of the IP saved you, IP saved your business, or IP saved your product?
I can tackle that because I have stopped talking about security. Security is an issue of today. This is not a matter of IP. Yeah? Mm-hmm. If I look at our today's facility, which are driven by broadcast vendors' products, this is a security threat. And this was also one of the reasons to work together with Cisco that knows about security and to work with them together to solve those kind of issues. But I think security is the fundamental part, once you move towards IP. If you leave that out, I think I cannot imagine that this is a good approach. I think transport 2110 or 2022, this is just the transport part of it. This is not the full stack, this is just the tip. But you have to get the fundamentals right first. It's security, it's about network management, DHCP, assigning addresses and so forth. This is all lacking right now. And this is why I think working together from a broadcast side, getting that experience into the boat and getting a vendor that knows about all of kind of things is a good approach. But this will not solve at the first place, all those issues. You have to work hard to solve those security issues, and it's important.
I would only add, it's fascinating to see that even today, security is way down the top 10 list of things that companies are actually investing in or looking at. I think for companies like SWR that have made that transition to IP, you recognize the threat. You recognize that as soon as you connect a camera or switch it to a network, there's a threat. But from a Cisco perspective, we still see a massive underinvestment and sort of thought leadership around how an end-to-end operation truly secures, from broadcast all the way through to IT. As I talk about it, Ben what you create at Disney is your crown jewels, right? The chance that something that you were working on would leak, and I know because we had this as part of the contractual discussions, and the threat to business and revenue and everything else. And so it's still incredible to me that there's not a focus on security across the industry that I think there should be.
Okay, real quickly, I want to kind of address each of your examples again one more time. And when you're jumping into this space, it's maturing a little bit now, but you still are kind of, putting your neck out on the line, living on the bleeding edge a little bit, whether it's in film or it's in breaking news or if it's in a major sporting event or whatever it may be. So in being a part of this kind of evolutionary growth process of the business, whether it's advice for people in the audience or maybe something you wished you had known before you began, what's maybe something that really sticks out in your mind as something you either learned or wish you'd known when you started this whole thing? Something that maybe someone else couldn't learn from your pain points along the way.
Yeah, I think we have just been trying to be really thoughtful about the problems that we're trying to solve. So everything that we're doing at Studio Lab is already something that is a challenge or something that we want to accelerate at Disney. So that was kind of point one, is make sure you're solving real problems. And then secondly, it's about, picking who you work with. And so we've been very thoughtful and very selective about the partners that we've brought in. And so far, it's been working out great with Cisco.
Sure. Now, Roger, for a long time, the transition to IP was in a little bit of all right, everyone's just kind of waiting at the starting line for someone to make a move. Now that those dominoes are starting to fall and people are looking around at, oh, now my competition is doing this and my competition is doing that. When you're sitting down with a prospective client, how do you keep their head on straight, and maybe what advice do you give them before they take that relatively big first step into this?
I think building on what all three of the our customers said, the mistake we made was underestimating the level of training and the knowledge that this industry needs to make those transitions, right? We started out 2 years ago with you guys. We were sort of saying, yeah, here's a replacement for an SDI router, or here's how you go to virtualization. Cisco lives and breathes this stuff, right? There's 65,000 of us that understand IP, and we talk about it all the time. We underestimated that doesn't mean that your customer understands, or the impact of just their job and what they do. So the first thing I ask, and we have these conversations with customers today, is the team ready? I completely get that, you shouldn't underestimate the team's ability to change, but do you really have those skill sets today to be able to go implement, brand new paradigm shifts of technology and business solutions?
Well, elaborating on that a little bit, obviously at-home production is a big trend, or whatever you may call it in the United States. It's got 5 or 6 different names. It's REMI. It's a few different things, and that's starting to happen on a much bigger scale. And IP and connectivity can certainly play a big role in that. Have you worked in that regard and helping people support, at-home productions where you might not need an OB van on site, or a much smaller OB van on site?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be a shift in our world as well. My feeling is that if you have a moment to drop by OBZ, you'll realise it's a big lump of a trailer. It's it's expensive, and it's big, and I feel that we're probably getting towards the end of this style of OB truck that's so big. I think we'll begin to see a move towards at-home production, which really demands a much smaller on-site presence for the technical facilities. I think we can talk about it from a technical point of view, and there's no question that it's possible to do, but production teams effectively still want to be on site where the action is, and it's that's going to be the difficult thing to change, I think, long term.
Roger, any thoughts on any technology you have your eyes on, anything like that?
Yeah, I think I'm obliged to say blockchain because I'm a technology vendor at IBC. I think AI, machine learning, I think that's been mentioned all 3 times, right? That's really interesting to me. That's another paradigm shift. From a Cisco perspective, we're starting to talk about it. We released a product earlier this week that focuses on that, but I'm really interested in trying to figure out what exactly the implications are for media and entertainment, production, post-production. What can we actually go solve with that? So, the next 6 to 12 months looking at application vendors and partners that can help me figure that out.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. Everyone in the audience, these folks will still be here, hang out for a little bit. So if you have any follow-up questions, you certainly can. And we want to give folks at Cisco one more chance to say goodbye. And again, from us at SVG, thanks for letting us be a part of this. Thanks.